aka GK Fralin here. You can call me Glenda, most people do. Hey, how you doing? All of you, how you doing? Today I have a special topic, so it's a discussion day. And if you have any questions you'd like to ask about it, or just remarks that you would like to share afterwards, please do so in the comments. What we're going to be discussing is COPD and depression. It's kind of a case with any chronic illness. You get bouts of depression, pardon me. I tend to do that. You guys know. Anyway. And we're going to discuss the two words that really do more harm, I think, than good. And those words are end stage. So I'm going to leave it here and go back to the discussion that I pre-recorded already, and we'll get this discussed. I'll discuss. You'll send me your questions and your information and anything you want to share. Okay? So, love you. And here we go. I have found something very important to talk about today. And it can be serious depending on where you're at. And that is COPD and depression. I just went to the COPD site and I looked it up, and what I got was a whole bunch of questions from people to the site about what is meant by end stage COPD. And several of them, well, I don't want to die yet. And I totally agree with one of the comments on there. The person who invented that phrase should never be allowed to say it ever again, because they number stages according to your level of, well, activity. There's so many factors that go in. I mean, it's level of activity, or if you've just been diagnosed, how much oxygen or how often you need oxygen. See, what they consider end stage, or this person who put that title on there, is stage 4. Now, I have been at stage 4 for quite some time. I am not ready to die. And do I look like I'm on the way to dying? I mean, yeah, I got this thing in my nose. But I'm very lucid. I'm very capable of doing things. I can't do what I did years ago. I can't do what I once did. I can't get out and just run around. But just you wait. The weather's going to get nice and my scooter's going. And, then I will walk a little ways in the park. I can't walk the distance, but I can walk. It may be 15, 20 feet at a time, or maybe farther, just depending. Some of it depends on how well I pace myself, and that's something I'm not good at. I'm getting better. So, if any of you have been given this thing of end stage COPD, end stage cancer, end stage, there is no tag anywhere worse than those two words put together. Unless it's in a war. Then we love the end stage of a war. I mean, unless more people die, but we love the end of a war. In a way, our body's at war, but this isn't the kind of war we want to end or lose. Okay. We know we're not going to win it, but we don't want to lose it either. I look at it this way, okay? I'm limited. And I've said this before. We live to the optimum level that are within our own limitations. When you learn that motto and make it your own, at least for me, instead of feeling depressed, because this is where I was starting was, I had gone there to look up depression as it, COPD, because everybody gets depressed. Not everybody's bipolar, but they still get depressed. And, a lot of people get to the point of depression where they're just so overwhelmed. And a lot of times it's because of these stupid phrases. Okay? I worked in a nursing home. I took care, okay, I'm going to use one example. This wasn't in the nursing home. This was in the hospital. But I was working on the skilled or long-term unit of the hospital, where I took care of a lot of, they were patients that needed skilled care, a 24-hour skilled nursing presence care. Because this was back in the day, when a CSM could run a shift, but not in that area. A CSM could maybe run a shift in a nursing home back then. Now it has to be an RN, or I think it's still an LPN, at least for a second or third shift. Because I used to be a charge on second and third shift in the nursing home. Used to be an LPN could be administrative in a nursing home, because my sister-in-law was, until they changed those laws. Long story short, okay, short story long. There was a woman who came in to the skilled unit, wonderful, bubbly personality, and she had terminal cancer. I can't remember if it was lung, but she was terminal with cancer. She was not going to get better, at least not with what they had then. That was her diagnosis. Her husband became really depressed. Well, it turned out he did have cancer, but it wasn't nearly as advanced as her cancer. They still weren't able to, I don't know that they expected him to go home, but he was not nearly as far along. She should have been, according to the doctors, according to the, those who like the labels, she should have died within a few months. He should have lasted at least a year or two. If he, I can't remember if he was on chemo. Guys, this has been back in the early 80s. Okay? Don't expect my memory to be real fresh. But the difference is attitude. He never came out of his depression, and he willed himself to death. I do believe that happens. As a nurse, I've seen it. And I've also seen people will themselves to live longer because their attitude and because they refuse to just give in and give up. My grandparents, they lived into they were their longevity goes in my family, goes in my family. More with the women, well, it used to be more with the women than the men, that's kind of catching up to each other now, but my grandparents, they retired, they traveled. But there even came a time when they weren't able to do so much traveling. And they always had hobbies, but they took up more hobbies or different hobbies. One of the hobbies was traveling. Then they got to the point, Grandpa had cancer, and it had metastasized. And he had it for a little, I can't remember how long but my grandmother, I had two sets of grandparents, yes, but this is my paternal. My paternal grandmother, she had what they called little strokes. I mean, it ended up, doing as much damage for her memory, but, it was like a clamping of the the arteries got full of plaque, and we're talking back, way back. So anyway, that's well. Okay, I forgot where I was going with that. Where I was going with that was that they lived as well as they could, no matter what. Even when Grandma started losing her memory, she still was very social, even in the nursing home. And I mean, yeah, things with age progress. You're not going to live forever. None of us are. But we don't put a date on the toe tag, and I'm tired of doctors that do. I don't have any toe tag. When I get to that stage, yeah. Now, there's some things that are unpreventable, but still, you don't have, even if you've got, I mean, if you knew, people are always coming up with this. If you knew, without a doubt, you only had 2 weeks to live, what would you do? Would you sit around and feel sorry about it, or would you find something to keep your mind interested and off of the situation? And there's others where, anyway, depression's real. Don't feel ashamed of it. But as far as these people, or these people who invented the end stage remark, kick them out of your mind and your house and your everything, or please correct them, because everybody is on a track to their end. Okay, so we are all going toward the end. We don't have to make it any sooner or any easier for it. I'm ready to go when it's right for me to go. I'm not going to give up and quit living. I'm just not. And I know a lot of you feel the same way. Yeah, I have days I'm depressed, days I'm down, and I told you about them. When I've been down, I still come on. There were a couple of days there. And you guys really helped to bring me back up. There was a time when I was sick, and you guys helped to really keep my mood up while I was feeling sick, so that I didn't just languish, I mean, I wouldn't, but, when you're feeling sick, you need some cuddles, even if they're long distance. And yeah, they were long distance. I mean, I didn't want my husband getting what I had, because then we just pass it back and forth. Anyway, that is my thing for today as far as COPD and depression go together. So, forget and kick out the person in your head who says the words end stage. Like I said, we're all headed there. Don't make it any easier make it easier for yourself. Don't make it easier for the Grim Reaper. That is the funniest looking character TV ever invented. I'm sorry. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Hasta mañana. Love you.